One of the Choshev in Galad came over to me and said, maybe we shouldn't be dancing tonight. We should instead say Tehillim. And I shared with him a story. You might have heard it from me. It doesn't matter what, here we are. The Eish Kodesh, the Piasetzner Rebbe, who was the last surviving Hasidic Rebbe in the Warsaw Ghetto after the liquidation, who was ultimately taken from the ruins of the Warsaw Ghetto to a death camp and killed there. So he was living in Warsaw at the time when the war broke out. The war broke out just beginning of the Yom Tovim. And the Germans were strafing the Warsaw because Warsaw was the main city of Poland, and it had the largest group of Jewish people there also. So what happened was this. The Rebbe's son, who had been very ill as a child and had a miraculous cure, he was his only son, his Ben Yochid, had just gotten married before the war started. Was going out on the first day, there was strafing and bombing, and he got hit with a shrapnel, and he was very badly wounded. So they grabbed a hold and they ran him over into the hospital, in the Warsaw hospital, and they brought him inside. His wife of just a few months and his sister-in-law went to the hospital to see how he's doing. They wouldn't let anyone in, so they stood by the door outside waiting to hear word how the young man was doing. Just then another bomb exploded, killing instantly the new wife and the sister-in-law. The Rebbe's son passed away a few hours later. So the Rebbe enters into the Yontiv of Sukkot with no children. His wife had died before the war. He was one lone person with nobody. You can imagine the pain he was going through. He comes walking into shul, and everyone is weeping. The whole chevra, the community, the Hasidim, everyone's crying. Such a loss. Such a wonderful boy and his wife. They had all been at the chasna. Gone. The Rebbe walks in and he says, everything Hashem does is for good. You're not allowed to cry on Yom Tov. It's a halacha. And he opened up the Ur Kodesh, the Ark, and sang Eishes Chayil, the song that you sing in honor of your wife at the Friday night dinner. So I told this to the young fellow. I said, we're not gonna curtail the Havkofas. Rather, we should dance as hard as we can and open up Shemayim with our simchas for the Torah, because only the Torah makes us who we really are. We have to now be thinking what we could be doing. How could we actualize some reality of fixing the situation in our own selves? I'm going to read you an email that I got late last night. I got this from a very close friend of mine, a doctor. It was forwarded to him, so I guess it's making the rounds. But listen to what he says. I am literally dead tired, but I feel compelled to write this note in memory of Devia Karp, a dear and close friend of our family, who was among the first victims in Kibbutz Re'im yesterday morning. Now, Devia and his close friend Stav were barbarically murdered right in front of his children, ages 9 and 11, while trying to protect and save them from the barbarian attack of Hamas, who had infiltrated Kibbutz Re'im to murder and kidnap as many people as possible. He writes in parentheses, to be used as human shield when the time comes. Taking advantage of the Shabbos and the fact that people would be sleeping late because it was the weekend. So just before they broke into his house, and shortly after shelling from Gaza started, Divrei was communicating with his ex-wife, Ruth, assuring her that the kids are with them and that they are safe and protected. Shortly after, things took a turn for the worse, and he stopped replying to her texts. A few minutes later, his ex-wife received a last communication from his mobile. It was his youngest daughter, aged 11. And she said the following communication: "Mommy, this is Divrei. Dad was just murdered, and so was Stav. Help!" We later learned that the terrorists took the two kids into the mamad, that's the anti-shelling secure room that every house has in Israel, tucked them into bed, and using a lipstick, wrote on the wall, "Hamas do not kill kids," which this is the only reported case so far where Hamas spared the life of our kids. You have yet to hear the stories we have heard, the kind of stories that will take you back to Nazi Germany. So this is what I received. This is what's happening. They're killing little kinderlich. They're doing, this is not a war, a state against a state. As much as being spoken about and exercised on the web, if you're following anything, don't turn off your phones. It's just horrible what's going on. There's an eternal hate against the Jews. From when we first started. And there's only one cure for this hate. And that's achdus. Getting together, being close. The chief rabbi before Rav Sachs, or Rabbi Jacobowitz, he was a very special person. Rabbi Jacobowitz was once on television on Wogan, together with Wiesenthal from the Holocaust Museum. And Wogan asked him, what defines anti-Semitism? So Chief Rabbi said, disliking the Jews more than necessary. What does that mean? He said, we're strangers here. We know that. And we try our best to do what we can to participate in the society we live in. Anti-Semitism is when that natural sense of not being close to a stranger becomes a hatred. When they start hating us because we're strangers. Throughout history, Torah refrains. From the time of the historians have told us, I think I mentioned it once, the historians say that there were enough soldiers and armaments in the times of the Romans, in the Yerushalayim, in the Chutzah from the base of Mikdash, we could have beat off the Romans. But we were fighting amongst each other, so the Romans had an easy win. When Jews don't have achdus, the goyim who hate us, okay, that's it. Esav Tzoni Yaakov, it's no, that's who we are, but that's where we are. And yet we make a Kiddush Hashem by being positive. Having said that, we have to stop the fights. We have, how we slept months knowing that people, thousands, tens of thousands of people are marching in the streets in Eretz Yisrael, Jew against Jew. This is what happened in the base of English. I don't know how I don't understand it. Thousands spitting on Yiddishkeit. It doesn't matter. Right wing, left wing. We don't have these names, don't mean anything by Hashem. When I was a kid, there was no such thing as Haredi. You were from Jew or you weren't, all right. But all these labels did not exist. A Jew is a Jew. Now we've put people into corners. You can't go to this school. This kid, you're shaitel. What is the matter with us? You don't think the Irish is watching this? This is what I have. This is my shiur supply. I gave after the Mechumah, after the Chob from Europe, 50 years we rebuilt Torah. There are more boys and men learning in Yiddish in the yeshivas, in the Mir, and in Lakewood, and yet we march in the streets. We march in the streets. We march in the streets against our own brothers. There was a clip someone sent me. There's a Yid, a Rabbi D. You might have known he was in London. Lost his wife and 2 of his children. He was davening in Tel Aviv on Yom Kippur. And some guy, big guy, he jostled him. Yeah, because he wanted no mechitza, whatever the Mishigas was. Yom Kippur, here's a man who has 3 kedoshim, and you're pushing him around. But this is no surprise. What's happening? We don't love each other. We have to get rid of all this stuff. The Ger Rebbe, the Bnei Menachem, one time someone came into him, spoke against the secular Jew, and the Rebbe said, come with me. Took him by the hand to the door of his office and said, put your hand on the mezuzah and repeat after me. Alle Yidden sind heilig. All Jews are holy. Say it again 3 times. Say it and say it again. All Jews are holy. Months of marching, vilifying. We have to tear our clothing in mourning. And when did this all come out? On Simchas Torah, the time where everything is, we don't have this, it's just me sitting with the Eibishter. So say Tehillim. Say Tehillim. Daven with your heart. And do tovas for Jews. The same Rebbe who said that he can't cry on Yom Tov, the Piasetzner Rebbe, famous episode, one of the last Simchas Torahs, the Rebbe was dancing with the boys, the Bochrim in the yeshiva, and in the middle of the dancing, he raised his hands and said, Shah! And he cried out, Gedenke Kinderlach, listen, children, never forget this. The größte mitzvah, the greatest mitzvah, was a Yid after thing. What a Jew has to do is to do a favor for another Jew. Satina Teuber for a zweite Yid. That's the biggest mitzvah. They continued dancing. 20 minutes elapsed. The Rebbe raised his hands again. Shah, the greatest mitzvah, the biggest mitzvah in the whole world is to do another Yid a favor. We have to be mavata. We have to do tovas for each other. We have to stop. Someone just called me up. People have no brains. They make fun of each other for no reason. We hurt people with our dibber. Why? Could we reinvent the wheel called Ahava, love for Yidden? Now. Save our lives. Now. And Heimschus, geholfen werden mit Kol Tuv, we'll come out of this ghost. The Mashiach will finally come, and we'll have a unified Klal Yisrael, and we'll dance in the streets of Yerushalayim in Gesund with Kol Tuv Selah.